Hello and welcome back to the bar for the last in this series of bar menu items, where we look at a recipe for best practice and we take out specific topics to focus on. And at this time, for this week, I want to focus on PPM optimization. And for those that don't know the acronym PPM, PPM is, there are lots of, there's software out in the market and there's tools, IT tools, etc., that are called PPM tools. And they're really sort of portfolio and project management tools. They are the tools that you use in an organization to help you run a portfolio of projects effectively. And there's many out there. There's loads of them, and we have our own called Perform. But the question is how you optimize them, because we've seen so many companies invest huge amounts of money in PPM tools and then really struggle to get huge amounts of value out of them. So how do you optimize a PPM tool or a PPM deployment? What does the ideal dish look like? I think the ideal dish with a PPM tool is it's a solution that generates genuine value but which everyone in the organization is able to use. So, it is something, a good PPM tool is, for me, is a tool that everyone can use. Doesn't matter whether they're trained project managers or not, because large percentage of the people running projects aren't necessarily trained project managers. It's easy to interface with, whether you're an exec who's the audience of the information or someone inputting the data. It's working in a simple way so that the input is relatively easy to understand. It's not too complex, otherwise it'll just fail immediately. It's that for me is the ideal sort of recipe or dish for a PPM optimization. What are the problems that we're trying to solve? We're trying to solve the problem of PPM modules that are too complex for everyone who's running projects in the organization to interface with, whether it's resource management modules, planning modules, finance modules. If they're too complex, they are not going to work. It is extremely difficult to get them to work. And remembering that, most organizations will pull project managers in as contractors for a short period when they're needed. And so they suddenly have to learn this PPM tool. It's got to be simple enough to work with. The second one is, second problem we're trying to solve is that a lot of the leadership team, executives, etc., just don't log in to a PPM tool. They just don't. They have a fantastic PPM tool sitting in the organization, but they'll never log in. Some will, but most won't. That's just a fact of life. So how do we get over that problem? And the third problem is essentially how you achieve good quality input to drive valuable outputs and outcomes from the PPM tool. And again, we see many customers struggling with, they have a great PPM tool, but how do you get the right quality of input to actually get any sensible output? So what are the key ingredients? Key ingredients for me of a PPM tool are that it focuses on outcomes rather than functionality. So when you're selecting a PPM tool, it's to focus on what are the outcomes that, number one, we want to achieve, and number two, this organization at its level of maturity and capability is in a position to realistically achieve. So, don't shoot for the stars, make it practical, because it's got to add value very early on in its life in order to retain credibility. Otherwise, you will lose credibility very quickly. So a PPM tool that focuses on outcomes rather than functionality is not about how complex the functionality is. It's about how's it going to drive the right outcomes. A PPM tool that is simple enough for everyone to use, not just your trained project managers. It needs to be simple enough for anyone, no matter where they sit in the organization, to be able to put their input in each week or month in order to generate anything out of it that is of value. And then thirdly, the third sort of ingredient for us is driving outputs directly off the PPM tool. This is a really important part of optimizing your PPM tool. You need to make sure you have a tool that enables you to drive some of the outputs, the data that's on the PPM tool, in a meeting directly off the tool. Because if you're actually sitting in front of information you're responsible for putting in, and it's on a screen in that meeting, you're going to care about, you know, what it looks like, how it comes across, how it's articulated, etc. So make sure you get a tool, a PPM tool that enables you to drive meetings and drive other outputs and outcomes directly off the PPM tool itself. So the magic ingredient for this one is really getting direct executive level engagement on your PPM, pulling them into the PPM. You know, don't allow yourself to accept that no exec ever logs on to your PPM tool. Come up with ways of pushing information out to them from the PPM tool that draws them in. So create links on URL links that enable them to come back into the PPM tool to get the information you want them to see. And then they'll start engaging with it because they're actually going onto it, physically going onto the PPM tool. So that for us is the magic ingredient. We have a set of magic ingredients here. We are absolutely delighted to share them with you, whether they are templates that will help you or whether they're tools that would help you. And if you click the link that's in the link that came out from LinkedIn, or that you've read, the post that you've read for this particular bar chat, then get hold of us and we'll be delighted to share in any way that we possibly can any of the ideas that we've got. Many thanks and very good luck. Thank you for coming to the bar chat today. It's been great to have you in the bar, and I hope you've enjoyed the topic we've been talking about. Now, if there's anything in this topic, if there's anything in this bar chat that's particularly resonated with you, or there's a challenge that you're facing with your portfolio or your program or your stakeholders or whatever it might be, then one of the things that I'm offering is a free private bar function. So you can either come into our very own bar and come and be a part of it, and I promise you there'll be a drink waiting here for you, or I'll come to you, or we'll have a phone call, and we can maybe kick the tires on over a bar chat on a challenge that you're facing internally with your program, portfolio, or whatever. If you want to do that, please take me up on the offer. I don't expect anything in return, and I really genuinely don't. You're very welcome to just click the link in the post on LinkedIn. There's a link in there. Connect and register, and we will be in touch to sort a private bar function out. Come and see me in the bar.